Thank you for joining us on this edition of the show. Quite a number of Nigerians would agree that getting good artisans can actually be a challenge. This is exactly the problem a startup is trying to tackle, leveraging technology. More on this on the interview segment. But first, let's start off the show with some tech news and updates. This is Tech Trends, and I'm Chukwuemeka Agbata.
We've arranged a civilization in which most crucial elements profoundly depend on science and technology. In March this year, all schools in the country were shut as part of measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. Many students, teachers, and even parents were left with no choice but to opt for virtual learning. Sadly, not all have such privilege, causing them to pause their education indefinitely. But Julius Ilori, with some of his colleagues, have risen up to this challenge by developing this continuous learning platform, a web application that provides free educational materials to secondary school students, enabling them to study on their own at home.
The continuous learning web app we created was initiated as a response to the COVID-19 school lockdown that started in late March, and we came up with this initiative to complement the effort of the government to see how we can create a solution that can help people to keep accessing educational materials while they are still at home. So since we started this initiative, we have been able to reach over 1,000 young people in different parts of Nigeria, and also we have also recruited some teachers, call them neighborhood volunteer teachers. These are young people in various communities who volunteer to use this web app to teach, to bridge the gap. Those people who could not access internet, who could not access good phones, who don't have access to laptop. These teachers are the one visiting them in the community to make sure they are teaching them, and we have recorded massive success in different communities in Lagos.
Understanding that it's easier to access a mobile device than a laptop, the team deliberately designs the web app for mobile devices with an option to download the materials for offline use.
Initially, it was launched as an e-library so that students who log onto the platform can come in, look for educational materials of their choice, and then download them for offline use. But in a bid for us to offer more to the students who were constantly interacting with the platform, we decided to add the feature whereby they could take mock tests. Now, on one click, these students get access and then they're able to test what they've learned. So far, we've been working on how we're going to improve the platform so that we can make it more robust for these students to test their knowledge and keep improving themselves while they are currently at home.
As clamors increase for learning institutions to reopen, the federal government has rolled out guidelines that must be met by each school before that can happen. However, no set date has been released for students to return to schools, and applications like the continuous learning platform can help bridge the gap for the students as well as prepare them for the post-COVID-19 era that will be driven by technological innovations. Like several other students who have been forced to stay at home due to the coronavirus pandemic, 17-year-old Bridget Onmanta transitions to online learning to prepare for her exams. By turning to QuizIK, an app that uses games to motivate students, Bridget can stay on top of her lessons. Amid the school closures, QuizIK aims to show learning can be fun.
At first, when I tried the app, I did not get anything. So I was the last on the leaderboard. So I felt like for people that are writing the same exams to be at the top, so I need to do something to get to that point. So when I did it the first time, I went back to read. Then I started playing the game consistently. So majorly, the reason why I used to go there was because of the competitiveness and the information it had to offer.
Aimed at secondary school students, the app features quiz tests where users can test their knowledge in the subjects in their school syllabus, and where they can also enter competitions with other students to test their understanding. Launched in March 2019, QuizIK is the brainchild of Tade Samson and 2 other co-founders. Growing up, Tade says he struggled to learn and one day came across a TV program that showcased children studying using gamification methods, which inspired him to replicate it in Nigeria.
QuizIK was created with the goal of actually making learning fun for the students. We want more students to see learning more like learning is not an affliction, and it shouldn't be an affliction. It should be fun. It should be something like my secondary school self. You want to say, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn. My secondary school self should not be saying, oh, give me a book. Remember sometimes when I had to force us that we should read, and we'll be sleeping and we'll carry the book like this, and we're gone.
It wasn't really built for this time, but we have actually put in a lot of effort. We failed and then we have learned and we've moved on. So a lot has actually gone so for us to get to this stage. But more or less we were prepared when this time actually came, and that's really gave us much more attention.
The app uses digital tickets that can be bought for 1,000 naira to 3,000 naira, and these digital tickets can last for 1 month to a year. With more than 9,000 users, many of whom joined in the last 3 months due to school closures, the team behind QuizIK says an app like this could not have come at a better time. The founders also say they are working to provide more features on the application. At the Dadawan restaurant in the southern Dutch city of Maastricht, an unusual group of new staffers have been brought in to help after the Netherlands eased its coronavirus lockdown. Robots.
Thank you.
A robotic trio of waiters named Amy, Aka and James roll back and forth from the bar at the Asian fusion restaurant, handing out drinks and lessening the number of trips that human staff need to make through the restaurant. Each robot has a simple humanoid figure, including arms to hold serving trays. Simple displays on their faces show a smile or occasionally a frown. The service can be a bit stiff.
I will go back automatically in 20 seconds.
Amy informs a pair of women seated at a booth after presenting them with 2 glasses of iced tea.
Thank you. Enjoy your meal. I will go back now.
Customers must pick up their own drinks. Though robot servers were introduced in China several years ago and have since become a novelty at restaurants around the world, only a handful of Dutch eateries have so far introduced them. For now, Dadawan's robo service is limited to drink delivery, but the owner hopes to quickly widen their repertoire. The restaurant's representative says waiters' jobs are not threatened by the newcomers.
Our team is very happy with the robots. They actually have their own secretary who helps with the work so that they can also come in more contact with the guests. Walking from the bar to the tables and from the kitchen to the tables is no longer necessary. This offers extra space to give our guests a better experience.
Restaurants in the Netherlands were closed from mid-March to June the 1st for everything but takeout and delivery. Now they have been allowed to receive up to 30 people with a minimum distance of 1.5 meters between tables. Diners must also make an appointment in advance. Mira Robotics developed its Ugo robot to reinforce greying Japan's shrinking workforce, but as the coronavirus threat persists, the Japanese startup is offering its machine as a tool in the fight against the outbreak.
Originally, we didn't intend to have the sterilization function, but as people began to practice social distancing and avoiding the 3 C's, which are confined spaces, crowded places, and close contact, the robot gained a lot of attention, and we received many inquiries because it can go to places and operate on its own instead of humans. So we decided to develop the UVC sterilization bag.
そういった中でこの UVC 紫外線除菌ハンドというのを開発しまして
The latest feature of the remote-controlled or so-called avatar robots is a hand attachment that uses ultraviolet lights to kill viruses on doorknobs. An unprecedented population decline that is shrinking Japan's workforce by more than 500,000 people a year, as well as a reluctance to bring in foreign labor to fill vacant positions, has spurred robot development in Japan. The emergence of coronavirus-related demand could further that work. Mira Robotics Ugo is a pair of height-adjustable robotic arms mounted on wheels, operated remotely through a wireless connection with a laptop and a game controller. A range-measuring laser mounted on the base helps it navigate, while a panel at the top displays eyes to give it a friendlier appearance. It takes around 30 minutes to learn how to use the robot, with each operator able to control as many as 4 machines. Ugo, which costs around $1,000 a month to rent, can be deployed as a security guard, carry out equipment inspections, and clean toilets and other areas in offices. Matsui's 2-year-old startup so far has only one Ugo operating at an office building in Tokyo.
Here are some tips that may keep you safer from the coronavirus. With the novel coronavirus spreading fast, social distancing, self-isolation and remote work have come to play in several of the affected countries. Well, now seems to be a good time to take advantage of the benefits your mobile phone or technology offers. But first, let's disinfect your phone. An easy step is to use a 70% isopropyl alcohol wipe or disinfecting wipes to gently wipe the exterior surfaces of your phone. Please do not submerge your phone in any cleaning agent or bleach. Once your smartphone is thoroughly germ-free, here are a few hints for using tech to increase your chances of staying healthy. Set up Apple or Google Pay. If you must venture into the physical world, make sure you have a mobile payment app like Apple or Google Pay installed on your smartphone. Using these payment apps to buy the last hand sanitizer lets you avoid touching cash or credit cards or any store touch screens. All you have to do is to wave your phone in front of the payment terminal screens. Using telemedicine and online mental health apps. Although smartphone apps are no substitute for meeting face-to-face with your doctor or therapist, some people may still prefer to seek treatment from home. Healthcare providers offer telemedicine services for their customers this period. Install an air quality index app on your smartphone. The coronavirus is more dangerous for people who have pre-existing respiratory problems. To keep their lungs healthy, they can use an air quality index app to avoid places with high pollutant levels. And if your air quality app tells you your home has the air quality of Los Angeles on a particular day, you will know that you have some cleaning to do. Carry a stylus to avoid interacting with touchscreens. You may have to touch a dirty touchscreen if you venture out for a cup of coffee or a grocery store. Luckily, owning a stylus pen can eliminate the need to drag your fingers across screens that thousands of people have already touched. Of course, this means you need to keep your stylus pen clean. hang out online. If the usual Friday night down the pub is no longer an option, have you considered setting up a Google Hangout, Skype call, or FaceTime group as an alternative? Pick a time, connect, crack open your bottle of wine at home, and catch up.
Next is my chat with the co-founder of QuizIK, Murtala Sani. Don't go anywhere.
The startup scene seems to be rising, and for good reason too. There's more funding available and content is now easily accessible. With co-working spaces, incubators, accelerators and innovation hubs popping up here and there, the industry appears not to be slowing down. But despite the rise, the startup culture has its own unique challenges that need to be addressed. And so we chat with Murtala Sani, the co-founder of QuizIK, who is of the opinion that Nigeria must focus on creating a startup-friendly environment.
I think it's still early days. The penetration of technology, it's still kind of low in Nigeria. While the users are actually trying our best, the citizens are making best of what we can do with what we have right now.
So what do you think is stopping the growth of technology the way we would expect it to be?
Basically, I think is education. There was an article I read about, the UN saying there are about 70 million kids out of school. So I think if we can improve education, I believe we can, improve the penetration of technology.
Now, by formal education, do you mean classroom, physical education? Because people would say that the number of infrastructure that we have cannot train the out-of-school kids.
Yes, formal education. At least people should know the basic. Basic is always, a stepping stone. Nobody's going to actually, teach you or take you to, through advanced education. Basic. Let people at least graduate from secondary school. So I think that works.
So as a startup, how do you think policies affect your growth or otherwise?
Okay, so personally, I will talk about the policy that have actually affected our own startup, which concerns payment. Now, we have two sides to our startup. We deal with the informal sector, and most of these guys don't have smartphones. So sometimes the payment, a lot of times, still has to be done in cash. Maybe if there was a technology like M-Pesa, which we could actually use here in Nigeria, where people can utilize USSD payment effectively. I'm not talking about the mobile money that is going around. It's not really a mobile money. Real mobile money, payment. I think that will go a long way. That's one policy, that could actually, I think, smoothen up things, businesses in Nigeria. It doesn't even have to do only with startup, with general businesses in Nigeria.
Muta, do you ever get scared that a policy can come out of nowhere and wipe you out?
Yes. I mean, it just took care of some startup. So, yeah, so you have to get scared, especially when you're dealing with a sector that is not so structured, which we are dealing with right now. We are dealing with people that are into construction, into home maintenance, artisans, plumbers. This is a sector that is not so structured. So, we don't know. Any policy could just come from the government one day and then we are out of business.
Big tech companies globally also invest in lobby machineries. Do you think that our startups should also toe that line?
It's hard to say because I don't have that data personally, and so it's quite hard to say if the startup ecosystem have put in place things to cushion this kind of effects or anything like that. But for future references, I believe there should be something in place, where startups actually come together and kind of team up together and able to cushion this kind of situation that might come in the future.
So in what ways do you think startups such as yours can leverage technology to really help grow the Nigerian economy?
All right. So one is actually improving, revenue generation for the informal sector, the artisans, the people, the semi-educated people. Now, the thing there is, there's a lot of trust gap between these guys and the middle class, and because these guys, most of them fall into the lower middle class or even lower class of people. There's a trust gap. So sometimes even you as a person, sometimes you have a doorknob at home, and not because you don't want to fix that doorknob, but you just feel, I don't want anybody to come into my house, So that's the gap that we want to bridge. If we can bridge the trust gap, then you as a person are able to say, okay, I can call QuizIK and calling these people, and they can come fix their door. Now, if more people have that trust, that means more jobs are going to be created. That means more money for these guys.
One of the biggest issues that you mentioned that affect startups today is the issue of trust. How are you dealing with that?
I would rather deal with someone, that I feel, okay, I've gone through a certain process, and I know that he has gone through, some certain stages, than, a random person. Yes, not a random person can't, of course, go out there and be and thrive. But then, if we are able to structure this space, just like you mentioned, Silicon Valley, in the first place, it's a structured environment. If we're able to structure this space more, then I think the trust is going to come in.
Now, Murtala, tell us, how are you dealing with the issue of funding? Because funding seems to be a topic that startups are interested in.
I think funding still, comes back to, trust. But then, even taking away the trust, I think a lot of foreign investors have shown the way that the emerging markets in Africa, especially Nigeria, it's green. I think what we need more now is for the local investors, your local Dangotes or $10, to actually enter this space. And once they're able to do that, I think they will give more confidence to other local businessmen.
But it seems that every fundraise that we hear today is around fintech. What's your opinion?
So 2 weeks ago, I had this discussion with a colleague of mine, and we actually analyzed this thing, and a decade ago, everything was aimed towards e-commerce. Maybe we're forgetting. I think there's even in the most developed startup space in the US right now, a lot of things are now schemed towards AI. AI and blockchain, businesses. So I think it's still coming together. The whole space is still coming together. Yes, it might be fintech now. Maybe in the next 5 years, it might be, service space, just like ours. You just have to hang in there.
Finally, this will be a two-in-one question. Where do you see your startup in 5 years, and what advice do you have for other startups like you?
All right. So in 5 years, at least we want to have been able to cover the entire Nigeria and, cover at least 2 more African cities, apart from Nigeria, and also having to engage minimum of 20,000 informal workers, generating revenue, making them live, at least a good lifestyle. That's our goal for the next 5 years. So my advice to startup is keep building, keep hanging in there. It's tough. There's no point with quoting anything. It's tough in Nigeria, especially in Africa. It's a tough place, to be a startup, but you just have to hang in there. I think patience will actually, bring you what you want in the long run.
But thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I've been chatting with Murtala Sani, co-founder of QuizIK, who tells me that although building a startup can be challenging, it can also be rewarding, witnessing lives being transformed based on your work as a startup. Murtala states clearly that one thing that scares him today is inconsistent policies. Imagine being a startup that has invested a great deal in tackling a societal problem, then you wake up one morning and everything is gone, just like that. Nigeria must focus on creating a startup-friendly environment like Rwanda and other countries are already doing. Otherwise, we may lose up the momentum to smaller countries. It's a wrap on this edition of the show, but the conversation continues online. Join us on social media. Remember, you can watch the entire show on the channel's TV YouTube account or by checking out cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwuemeka Agbata.